When it comes to the Battle Shonen community, I'm starting to think we can't have nice things.
I've tried for the last year not to spout any hot takes and only talk positively about the shows I enjoy. It's why that solo leveling video is not coming. Trust me, I have nothing good to say.
But there reaches a point in community discourse where you need to speak up, and it seems my good boy era is over.
In the last 20 years, we have been blessed with some of the greatest fight scenes in the medium of animation. If anyone tries to tell you anime doesn't have the best fight scenes when it comes to animation, they don't watch enough anime.
From Demon Slayer's Season 2 finale to Sukuna in Season 2 of JJK, the powerhouses in Mob Psycho, the fiery impacts of Fire Force, Fate doing its thing as always, and even solo leveling pops off for the choreo.
But to look at that, I found something good to say. Maybe I can do that video after all.
And with a manga like Sakamoto Days that has been praised for its high fluid action coming out now, there seems to be a loud section of the community that thinks the fight animation isn't good enough.
And I'm starting to notice...
My God, we've been spoiled.
Yeah, people call that not good enough. And when you compare it to shows like Demon Slayer, JJK, and Solo Leveling, you probably think they have a point.
Wrong! Yuto Suzuki's Sakamoto Days follows the story of Taro Sakamoto, an ex-assassin who quits his job in the most based way possible. Huh? However,
one cannot simply just quit being an assassin.
So now there's a bounty on his head for anyone who dares to take the challenge of taking on the best.
So basically any spy assassin story ever.
And while the premise is nothing new, Sakamoto Days manages to stand on its own by mixing that good old anime comedy vibes and a quite literal, colorful cast of characters.
But for once, I'm not reviewing the entire story, I'm talking about them hands. Let's get into the action, my dear weebs.
Not every fight scene needs to be this over-the-top power struggle and flashy aesthetic. And when comparing anime fights, I think it's best to keep this in mind even when we're talking about a pure visual spectacle. Contrary to Battle Shonen haters, not all these shows are the same. And what works for one show might not work for the other.
I broke this down in my Archer vs. Shiro video, which you should definitely check out. But what makes a good fight? In that video, I said animation, choreography, the message behind the fight, and the impact on the overall story. And this entire criteria can be summed up simply by saying, does it fit the show it's in?
Hindsight really is 2020. I probably should have said that in the original video. You know, there are a lot of scripts I wish I could rewrite.
We're getting off topic.
And when it comes to Sakamoto Days, I think it fits the show and then some. I don't have the bias of a manga reader, so bear with me here. But for a show that actually does have superpowers in it, like mind reading, the action still feels very grounded.
Guns, hands, feet, jawbreakers, tai chis, frying pans, orobands, and various other weapons is the type of action this show is going to give you. You're not about to see punches that destroy mountains, or mages that can summon black holes.
But let's be honest here, the real critics aren't comparing Sakamoto Days to any of these shows because why would they? Those things are just not in the nature of the story. But I have seen a lot of people compare Sakamoto Days or wish it looked like something akin to Windbreaker.
Crying out and breathe out, we're shouting once again. Towards the destiny we sing, a reverie up to the end. Let's go!
And again, I have to disagree because of the nature of the story. I guess I am talking about the story after all.
Damn.
Here we go. Guys, I'll take it from here. While Windbreaker does have great choreography, it's not really focused on that. The anime is more focused on street gang delinquents fighting each other for their own sense of pride and justice.
Hence why the fights are very emotional and flashback heavy, while in Sakamoto, they're professional killers duking it out. You won't see a scene of a man using a rubber band in Jawbreaker to mimic a gun in Windbreaker.
Bars.
Windbreaker's hype effect comes from how cool two people punching each other looks. Sakamoto Days' hype effect comes from how two people go about fighting each other.
Sakamoto using a frying pan and a cooler to take on two assassins is still just as hype even without the fluid animation because who does that?
On top of that, you can still feel the impact of all these things because of the added effects. The air smear surrounding the bottom half of the screen when Sakamoto punched that guy into a roof, the quick sound effect as Sakamoto ran behind Shin and kicked him, two guys fighting on a roller coaster and Shin using the ride to loop around his opponent and tackle his opponent.
You know that was cool as hell.
If I were to describe all of that to you versus Windbreaker, where I would say this dude spun around and kicked that other dude in the face, you'd probably be more hyped to watch Sakamoto.
And this isn't a jab at Windbreaker. I love that show, and if you haven't seen it, you should watch it. This is just me pointing out that there are different types of action, and each show is cool as fuck in their own right. Sakamoto Days doesn't need to look like Windbreaker because it has a lot more tactical fighting in it, and since that's the appeal of its action, that's where the animation focus needs to go. Windbreaker can just cut loose and give you hands for 5 minutes straight. Whoa. But Sakamoto Days isn't that type of show, because we're not just watching to see a fight, but how our favorite chubby retail worker is going to beat up his next opponent, similar to John Wick when he killed that guy with a book.
To me, saying the animation is good but could have been better if it was something like Windbreaker is ignoring the main appeal of these action pieces in the first place.
Don't blitz past Sakamoto doing something cool. Slow it down. I want to see how good he really is with whatever trick he pulls off next to put his enemy in the dirt while still keeping the family rules.
Break the family rules and I'll divorce you! Divorce!
Yeah, that seems pretty fair.
And once again, I have to point out my own biases because this approach to action is the exact approach Gintama takes.
If you don't know, one of my favorite anime of all time is Gintama. And to say that Sakamoto Days took inspiration from Gintama would be a complete understatement because the show feels like its spiritual successor.
Not only does Tomokazu Sugita, the voice of Gintoki, also play Sakamoto, but just look at the main trio and the premise of each show.
Gintoki and Sakamoto, your ex-assassin and samurai warrior, both with white hair, who now spends his days helping those around him and running a business. However, his past is coming back to bite him in the butt. Pachi and Shin.
The names kind of give this one away.
Your current assassin or samurai warrior who idolizes the main character as an older senpai role and plays the straight man for most of the comedic bits. And here is the real selling point. Kagura and Lu Xiaotang. A red-haired Chinese girl with family issues, a good fighter, and kinda childish, kind of like the little sister of the group. If Lu unlocks a secret form from her family later in the anime, you can't tell me she wasn't based off Kagura.
I bet all the money in my pocket, which isn't much, donate to our Patreon for support, that this anime was heavily inspired by Gintama. But more importantly to this video, both of them have the same approach when displaying and animating fight scenes.
Fights that focus on choreography over looking pretty. Fights that know when to slow down, when to speed up, when to switch camera angles. Fights that understand what makes these things so entertaining to watch. The mix of comedy and serious moments.
One of my favorite fights in the anime so far is Shin versus the Vive assassin Tatsu. Because not only is the choreography cool, not only is the strategy they use in the fight epic, but Shin does this while dressed as an evil fighting bunny in front of a bunch of kids who think it's a planned performance.
And y'all saying it's not good enough when they're throwing hands like this? You can feel the weight of every punch. You're sucked into the moment of every cool strategy, and that's because of the animation style.
If it wasn't like this, casual fans would have a guy like me online telling them, now guys, if you look closely here and pause it at a certain frame, you can see that he punched him twice and also bit him. Which again is fine, but not for shows like Sakamoto Days, whose cool factor revolves around you understanding the strategy each hitman uses.
Of course, all the fights in Gintama do the exact same thing. To finish off my point of Sakamoto Days being the spiritual successor to Gintama, go watch Gintama.
Anyone else think having our children watch this bunny beat up people is a little unhealthy? Why do you say that?
Rip his fucking head off!
No reason.
Again, I repeat, nothing looks like a JJK boxing fest. Nothing looks like a Windbreaker boxing fest. And nothing looks like a Demon Slayer boxing fest. And that's a good thing. because I don't think those animation styles would work for a show like Sakamoto Days.
The most important aspect when adapting an already existing piece of media is to make sure everything fits within the style of the original source material. So for a manga like Sakamoto Days, which people constantly praise for the cool things the characters do, crafting an animation style around that aspect is damn near perfect because it delivers on the story's strengths.
I see a lot of people admit that they jumped the gun, and granted, that first trailer didn't look too promising. But for the people that are still complaining about the show now that it's airing,
it may not be what you wanted it to be, and I can't change your mind. I'm just stating my opinion and why I disagree with the disappointment. But from the outside looking in, this adaptation is, all pun intended, killing it so far. So in the end, what I'm really trying to say is, anime over manga any day, co-parter, bro. Hey guys, subscribe for more videos like that, and go watch some more of the stuff that will appear here on the screen soon. Don't leave without liking and commenting your thoughts, because all opinions matter here. I'm gonna regret saying that one, aren't I? Thank you to our Patreons for all the support, and go follow us on socials because we stream. As always, my friends, I'm RJ Lane. Thank you so much for watching, and this has been On the Rise.